Dodie Hardesty with Empowered Heart Connections. Today I'm going to talk about whenever people are the primary initiator in relationships. We're going to talk about what that may mean for yourself, and we're going to explore some questions about maybe understanding why that's happening, and we're going to talk about some tools to maybe evaluate if this is working for you and some strategies to approach it with the person that is maybe the non-initiator. So one of the things, some things that can be helpful is doing a little self-reflection journaling. When we're curious about maybe what's happening, sometimes it's helpful to write it down and explore some questions like, how long has this been happening? What kind of experiences are you having that's giving you the indication that you are the primary initiator? And clarifying those emotions and patterns that may emerge over time whenever this is happening for you. And recognizing maybe a timeline. So we kind of write down in our journal a timeline of historical relationships and patterns of behavior that we've created over time that have resulted in us feeling maybe a little like we're the ones doing all the work in the relationship. And also exploring how do other people respond. So this can also give you information like if the people are not responding, or if they are responding and seem to be happy that you're connecting or reaching out, then this can kind of give you a different conclusion. Another thing that you can use as a tool is a boundary assessment kind of process, is really evaluating what boundaries that you have in relationships, particularly regarding communication. Are you really able to say what you need? Are you able to express yourself in these relationships? Are you able to ask for maybe some reciprocation? Or are you maybe not really clear about what your boundaries are, what your needs are? And are you also reaching out in these situations out of obligation or out of expectation, and to kind of explore what it would look like if you did have more clear boundaries, or if your boundaries changed, what would that look like and how would that feel for you? Also really noticing being mindful in these moments when you're feeling like reaching out to someone is what is it about your body's experience, your sensations, your thoughts that are driving you to reach out to this person, and is it coming from a sense of anxiety? Is it a fear of losing a connection with someone, or is it actually kind of a genuine desire, concern, connection with this person that is beneficial for you? Sometimes it's also helpful to have an accountability partner. Is if you are maybe initiating contact too much, or if maybe you are coming across in a way that is a little bit needy or feeling like it's overkill within relationships, and you're wanting to kind of pull back a little bit and maybe give the other person an opportunity to reach out themselves, and then it may be time to get an accountability partner. And this can be a friend that you trust, it can be a coach, it can be a therapist, but really somebody to kind of help you gain perspective. And hopefully if it is a friend, it's somebody who you have more of an equal dynamic with, as somebody who also shares the responsibility of reaching out and connecting in a loving way with you. And if not, that's okay too. Often we need to find a coach or a therapist to help us really process this stuff so that we can learn to find more reciprocal relationships and finding connections with people that does feel better, because it is difficult. And I know I've had those relationships too where it's like you have to evaluate, okay, is this relationship really serving me, or why am I continuing this dynamic when maybe it doesn't feel so good, or maybe it's not serving me in the way that it once was, or maybe it's never served me, right? So those are some of the questions that you can ask yourself, is understanding really why this behavior has started in the first place. Is why do I feel the need to initiate contact so often? And am I initiating contact because I really do want to connect, or am I afraid they won't reach out? And what would happen if they don't reach out? What would that look like, and how would I handle that? Also, how do I feel when the other person doesn't initiate contact? Am I really struggling with that? Does it feel kind of like a rejection or a sense of abandonment? Am I feeling undervalued? And if that's the case, then what keeps me reaching out, or maybe not, again, asking for what I need in a clear and direct way? Also, assessing the relationship dynamics. Is the other person responsive, right? When you are reaching out, are they engaged? Do you feel like you're chasing their attention, or are they actually seeming to be happy about that connection and feeling like, hey, they're excited to connect with you too, but maybe they're just not great at connecting. So really evaluating what those relationship dynamics are and why this is happening to begin with, and is there a way to make this feel a little less unequal. And if it is that the other person is seeming engaged, then is the relationship balanced in other ways? Are they, whenever you're getting together, are they having kind of a reciprocal conversation? Are they able to ask you about what you're needing and connect with you about your own issues in life and joys and struggles? Or is that also one-sided whenever you're getting together? When you're having a conversation, are you the one that's really listening in that dynamic as well? Are you initiating the contact and also initiating all the conversation, with them being the primary person who's getting listened to? Or are you the initiator even whenever you're getting together? Are you the one that's really promoting conversation and the other person really isn't connecting? And if that's the case, then that's a really good question to ask yourself. What are you getting out of this relationship? And is it really necessary for you to continue to reach out and make connections? The other question is, how does this pattern of initiating make me feel about myself in the relationship? Is if I'm the one that's only initiating all the time, does that affect my self-esteem? Does that make me feel like maybe I'm not valuable to them, or maybe that I am not worthy of this relationship? Does this really promote your sense of self-doubt? And does it make you feel like this is unpleasant, that I'm not worthy of them reaching out to me? So those are some really important questions to evaluate, and then really identifying those emotional patterns of, if it does make me feel like I'm not worthy and like I'm maybe not good enough or I'm not valuable to connect with, then is that reaching out to them or initiating contact tied to a fear of abandonment or rejection? And if so, what would it be like if they did reject you? What would it be like if you lost this friendship? Really evaluating how that would feel. Would you really actually have a loss from this rejection of this relationship? Or would you feel like some people feel in these dynamics, kind of relieved, like there's maybe been a weight lifted off my shoulders whenever I'm not the one that's responsible for all of the emotional interaction and the initiating contact? Also, do you feel anxious or uneasy when you don't hear from a person for a while? So is that maybe what's triggering you, is that this person doesn't respond to me or hasn't reached out? So how does that affect you emotionally in your body? Like, oh gosh, does that make your heart race? Does that make you feel afraid of maybe losing contact altogether? Or what are those insecurities or emotions that come up around that? And how does this dynamic or this pattern of behaviors or emotional reactions affect maybe some deeper insecurities? How is this maybe reflecting some deeper insecurities that I could explore and evaluate? What is it about my own need to initiate contact that could be maybe a reflection of some need to do a little soul searching around my own belief about myself? So doing a lot of exploration around emotional content can be exhausting, but it can be really helpful, especially when you find out that maybe these dynamics are happening because of this emotional insecurity, and you're really initiating contact out of habit and kind of having a false sense of security around maintaining that connection. The other area to explore are boundary setting. Is, okay, so if I haven't set really great boundaries, what are those boundaries that I need to set, and how do I do that? Am I respecting myself in this relationship, and do I need to set emotional boundaries in this context? And how would I feel to step back and allow the other person to initiate contact? If I changed that dynamic and set that boundary, how would that impact me? What would that look like? And again, am I giving more than I'm receiving? That's not sustainable. So again, if you are initiating all the contact, you're initiating all the emotional connection, you're maybe talking all the time, or you are just the support system for them and you're not able to reciprocate, then what is it that you're getting out of that relationship, and how do we set some clear boundaries? Are you asking for what you need? The other thing that's always helpful is, it's really easy to kind of send ourselves into a spiral in these situations and maybe feel less than great about ourselves and continue to perpetuate this pattern. But consider what the other person might be experiencing also. Is the other person just naturally less communicative? Are they maybe more of an introvert? And do they express their connection to you in other ways that is beneficial and is promoting a connection? Because it's easy to assume that the other person maybe just doesn't care, but there may be another dynamic there that is just simply needing some tweaking and maybe some evaluation. Could the other person feel maybe pressured on the other side of that by the frequent contact? Are they maybe feeling overwhelmed? And maybe it would be actually beneficial if you pulled back a little bit to create more of an equal dynamic. And am I leaving space for them to contribute? If you're the one that's contacting every single day and you're not giving them time to respond, is that maybe you're kind of unintentionally taking on too much responsibility for maintaining that relationship. And the other person may actually benefit from having a conversation with you, or you both may benefit from having that conversation of, hey, can we maybe talk about how we're initiating contact? And even if you are maybe having a one-sided conversation, how do we change that dynamic? Maybe kind of explore both of you asking questions or having conversation starters whenever you are connecting, if you do decide that this relationship does seem to be beneficial for moving forward. And then after you've done all of that process, some tools to move forward are to pause before you contact. So take a little moment, and am I initiating because I want to or because I feel obligated to? And if I don't initiate, again, how will I feel? And what do I expect to gain from this initiation? And is it realistic? And then setting those communication boundaries, as I mentioned before, is we really need to establish some sort of understanding with your friendship or your relationship. Is, hey, I'm feeling like I'm initiating too much, and I'm going to try to pull back and let you reach out whenever you are comfortable reaching out, and really honoring those boundaries once you set them. And really, again, exploring with them what this process looks like so that they're aware of what's happening and how this dynamic may need to change for both of you. And you both may find that it's beneficial. And then just kind of notice, keep track of what's working and what's not working. Is once you've had that conversation, you've set those boundaries, is evaluating, okay, is this actually beneficial? Is this relationship getting better? Or is this more of the same? Or is it, actually improved, right? So that's going to give you more information about whether or not the relationship is sustainable, is once you've had those conversations and set those boundaries, is this doable to maintain this relationship? And then again, to kind of reframe your perspectives and expectations, is shift your focus on how do I feel in this relationship? How do I feel valued and respected and connected in this relationship, rather than are they contacting me enough or am I contacting them enough? To kind of shift that expectation of what this looks like is how is the relationship benefiting both of us, rather than am I initiating too much or are they initiating too much? Just has the relationship become more equalized, and how does it feel to you at this point? And reminding yourself that your self-worth is not dependent on someone else. That no matter what, if this person in this relationship does not fare well, that's okay too. Is that often we spend kind of time in people's lives. Sometimes they're those foundational friends that last forever, connections that last forever, but sometimes they just serve a purpose and they move on. And sometimes they teach us a little bit about ourselves and what we need in our relationship, in our world, and that's okay too. So giving yourself a little bit of those affirmations to promote some self-worth experiences around that is really preparing yourself that even if this relationship doesn't last, that it's okay for me to set boundaries and have needs and have realistic expectations, and expect a partner or a friend to have similar or at least more equal dynamics in a relationship. I hope this has been helpful. Thank you so much for watching, and please like and subscribe if this has been helpful.